Love blinds us. Don't love anything. An idea, a tool, a graphic, a technique, a technology, a client, or a colleague too much. This quote derives from Adam Judge, author of two pristine design books. This quote explains that everyone should not get latched to anything in the design industry because from the beginning of design till now, it is always transitioning and continues to do so with the passing of time. With my experience as a senior graphic designer and tattoo artist, and my 4-year educational journey from North Central Michigan College to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh online division, my passion and drive for knowledge pertaining to the design field has grown immensely. As a designer, I believe it is smart to be aware of all the alterations going on in the graphic design industry, as well as industry history. This helps designers have a deeper understanding and outlook and could potentially improve their work. Design has been around since the Stone Age and has ever since been evolving. But in the last 20 years, the development of technology and software has been outstanding, and let's not forget about the ever-changing trends and style of design. This topic will give design enthusiasts a greater understanding of the graphic design industry and what is and has been incorporated in the everyday graphic images and ads they see. First and foremost is the birth of the internet and how it aided in the development of other technology used in the graphic design industry. The internet was considered the greatest invention in the 20th century and has revolutionized the ways designs are produced and published today. In the early 90s, when internet was still new to the world, internet era graphics began to take off. There was not a lot of software programs to create designs. Therefore, designers tended to use the same techniques to create similar content, resulting in less variety between each other's work. The efficiency of the internet back then was nowhere near its capabilities of today. The internet 20 years ago could support only a limited variety of software programs. These programs were slow and time-consuming because of the sluggishness of the internet. Researchers have observed the stats of internet speed, and on average, the speed had increased 10 times every 5 years since 1990. The average speed of the newly introduced technology started at 14,000 bits per second. Today, speeds reach a lightning fast rate of 54.97 megabytes per second. What that means is the internet speed has increased 1,000 times more than it was in 1990. With the efficiency of the internet increasing, so did the computers. PCs of the 90s were fairly large and heavy. The mammoth boxes included slower processors, less memory, 2 floppy drives, and a low-quality screen that only displayed a limited amount of color. For example, the Apple Macintosh Classic PC that was introduced in 1990 had a processor with the speed of only 8 megahertz and 1 megabyte of memory. The Apple MacBook we see today, a 1.2 gigahertz processor and a memory of 8 gigabytes. Compared, these processors differ greatly. Just think, 1 gigahertz equals 1,000 megahertz, and the Macintosh Classic only had 8 megahertz. The memory of 8 gigabytes compared to the 1 megabyte means that the memory has increased capacity by at least 1,000%. These changes have aided designers in more clear and efficient designs. This was only the foundation for the birth of internet-era graphics. With the progression in technology came progression with the software programs used to produce a graphic designer's work. There are many programs a designer can use to produce their work, but the most prominent in the graphic design industry from 1990 was Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator. Adobe Photoshop was launched in 1990 and had limited features compared to the newest versions of Photoshop used today. What was Photoshop 1.0's capabilities, you ask? Uh, with its introduction, the program only featured color correction, facility with balance, hue and saturation, and image output optimization. It included tools such as curves, levels, and clone. The program progressed excessively over the years. In 1994, Photoshop 3.0 was introduced, and this was the first version including the layers and tabbed palettes, making it easier to organize and manage images. In 2000, Photoshop 6.0 was released and now contains vector shapes, layer styles, and dialog boxes. As you can tell, the program features were updated continuously. I've only presented a smidgen of information for it updated as frequently as almost every year since its introduction into the world. Adobe Illustrator began to be more appreciated when designers first heard about computers and digitally produced images. Illustrator 6.0 was released in 1996. This is when the program began to support TrueType fonts. Adobe also introduced plugins at this time. A year later, version 7.0 was introduced, and the Adobe team quickly found a solution to support online publishing and internet plugins. Later in 2000, Illustrator had made its way to the top in Vector Graphic Editor. 3 years later, the program allowed designers to create simple 3D effects in the new Adobe Creative Suite. A few years later, after that, came Live Paint and Live Trace. Software programs, evolving throughout time, made a designer's creative freedom more dominant, allowing them to develop more detailed and unique designs. No matter the time, the graphic designers used what was available, but the designs always communicated what was going on in the world at that time. Graphic designs between the 1990s and now differ greatly, not only because how advanced technology and software have become, but because the design styles were different. Many of you may already know that graphic design has always been a form of communication. Looking back, this aesthetic aspect of graphic design was always changing. This was based on trends on what was happening in the world at that moment. The design styles were different because the viewer's needs were different. 90s designs seemed quirky and gave a warm, fuzzy feeling when, like the lovable next door neighbor you never had. Everything was a strange mix of funny and embarrassing. The typography had to look wacky and hand-drawn, and color combinations needed to clash. And in the millennium, design started to be detailed and complex. Nowadays, simplicity is key, with bold, intentional typography and vibrant colors. Muted colors and natural color schemes were part of the trend, whereas today we use more brighter, saturated colors. Minimalism is the in right now. As mentioned, we use louder and brighter colors and bolder typography. There's more focus on functionality and equal attention of design aesthetics. Through minimalism though minimalism was frowned upon because it was not as effective without color. Today, there are endless amounts of options to manipulate or combine colors to make these minimal designs pop. There's also more attention towards copy/image balance, use of color in photography, and overall tone of the composition. To close, the graphic design industry has been an ever evolving field of work. As a designer, and I'm sure other designers, we can all agree that being knowledgeable in the evolution of technology, software, and design style is a way to add ambience to their work and impact their understanding of graphic design in a positive way. We have learned that with the evolution of technology, that the evolution of software followed quickly and along pertaining to improvements in both areas. They always upgraded hand in hand, it seems. As everyone knows, trends always come and go no matter the industry. Graphic design is one of those fields that always follows trends. I want to take this moment to briefly thank you all for taking the time to listen. For any questions, I would be more than happy to provide my contact information upon request. And have a great day.